beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. I hope you all are having an amazing, marvelous, and magnificent day. Welcome back to my channel. My name is TatiV, and if you're a true crime lover like me, don't forget to subscribe. I do try to post 2 videos a week. That is Mondays and Fridays. Mondays I post whatever I'm in the mood for. I'll post an interesting true crime case in the form of ASMR. And Fridays I have a series called Freaky Friday where we discuss all things freaky. Freak accidents, freak deaths, cannibalism, decapitation, and gruesome crime scenes. So if any of that interests you, you might as well stick around and subscribe because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be back. Today's video is, as you can see by the title, The Haunted History of Lake Lanier. I might change the title, I'm not sure yet. We will be discussing a lake, an infamous lake, Lake Lanier. If you have not heard of this lake, you're probably living under a rock. It is a very infamous lake. It is the most deadliest lake in the state of Georgia, and probably the deadliest lake in America. And I will say that the history of this lake does have some racial background to it, so I don't know how you feel about that. So, and also, I do apologize. I sincerely apologize about the ads. I'm still trying to work everything out. So if any YouTuber out there that possibly watches my content that can help a sister out, please help me out with trying to remove ads in the middle of my videos, because even me, I love ASMR and I hate when ads come up in the middle of the video when I'm sleeping and then I wake up. So I'm so sorry about that. I hope that does not put a bad taste in y'all's mouth about my content. I am just trying to figure things out and find my way around, so just please be patient with me and bear with me. So I'm not gonna ramble too much. We're just gonna go ahead and get into the video. Sit back, relax, grab a snack, a drink, some wine. It doesn't really matter. Some water, and enjoy some crime time. This is not really a crime story, but still, nevertheless, enjoy. Warning, this content is for educational purposes only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. Parental discretion is advised. Before it was Lake Lanier, it was a town founded in 1870 called Oscarville, Georgia. The population of people was around 1,100 African American farmers. We all know that back then racism was publicly prevalent, so Oscarville was a town where African Americans thrived in their own community that they built up. Oscarville was located on the north perimeter in Forsyth County. A horrible event happened in this town. In 1912, an 18-year-old white woman named Sleety May Crow was walking from her aunt's house on Browns Bridge Road along the Forsyth Hall County line. On September 10th, 1912, Sleety's body was found at 9 a.m. She was half naked, covered with leaves, and lying face down in a pool of blood. When she was found, she was still breathing vaguely. She was inappropriately touched. Allegedly, she was attacked by a teenager who was 16 at the time named Ernest Knox. Allegedly, he stated that he hit her from behind and dragged her down a canal in the woods Ernest inappropriately touched the girl and hit her 3 times in the head with a large stone, crushing her skull. After the crime, Ernest allegedly told 3 of his friends what he had done, and they discussed what to do with Sleety, and they allegedly wanted to dispose her body near the Chattahoochee River, but decided that it was too risky and left her in the woods. This alleged conversation was never proven, and Ernest was threatened if he did not confess to this crime, they would drown him. Police arrested Ernest Knox at his home, and he was taken to a Gainesville, Georgia county jail. Word got around about the attack, and a huge white lynch mob surrounded the jail. At midnight, a police escorted Ernest to Atlanta to prevent him from being lynched. 3 other black men were arrested as well: Oscar Daniel, Jane Daniel, and Rob Edwards. They were taken to county jail in Cumming. There was a crowd of a 2,000 white lynch mob there before the 3 boys arrived at the jail. Several men got into the jail and shot and killed one of the guys. Rob Edwards dragged his body through the streets, and his body was hung from a telephone pole on the Cumming town square. His body was extremely mutilated. During the trial, the remaining 3 agreed to a plea bargain. Ernest and Oscar stood trial, and they were all convicted of inappropriately touching and murder by an all-white jury. On October 4th, 1912, 2 of the boys were sentenced to death by hanging that was scheduled on October 25th. The state banned any public hangings. The attendees of the executions were the victim's family, a minister, and law officers. The crowd was 5,000 to 8,000 people. Another attack happened on a 22-year-old white woman named Ellen Grice on September 5th, 1912, who was the wife of a highly respected farmer. Allegedly, 2 black males attempted to inappropriately assault her, but were scared away by her mother. Within a few days, the men were placed in a Forsyth County jail near Cumming, Georgia. A group of white men associated with the KKK would come out at night and burn down black churches and anything that the African Americans built and was helpful to them. They did this to run out all of the African American residents. This ultimately scared all of the residents, and they were all ran out. Oscarville was now an abandoned town. So let's fast forward to the end of the 1940s. Originally, the lake's purpose was to supply water to its Atlanta residents, hydroelectricity, navigation, and control flooding from the Chattahoochee River. In 1947, the Industrial Bureau met with the Chamber of Commerce and confirmed the Bruford Dam's construction. In a span of 2 years, Newport Dam Development communicated with the courts to force landowners in Oscarville to forfeit their land over so they could build the Bruford Dam. The $1 billion project took 4 years to complete. Georgia Highway 53 that ran close to the shoreline had to be abandoned when they basically forced people to seize over their land. They paid the owners basically nothing. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began their construction. Everything was demolished: churches, schools, homes, 20 cemeteries. The Looper Speedway, which was a half-mile dirt track located off the old Cleveland Highway, Sidney Lanier, an 18th century Georgia poet who wrote the song, quote, Song of the Chattahoochee, end quote, in 1956 and in 1957. Lake Lanier, the place that used to be home to 1,200 residents, was now filling up with water. Local residents lined their cars up miles away to watch it all unfold. It took several years for the lake to fill up to its capacity. Today, it is 38,000 acres of water, 200 feet deep, and it has about 625 billion gallons of water, which is the equivalent of 950,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Roughly 11 million people visit the lake every year. Over the years, Lake Lanier has become one of the most infamous and cursed lakes due to the high number of unusual deaths and people that have gone missing and have not yet been recovered. There have been 675 deaths since 1956. There has been boat accidents with reports of several people hitting something in the water. When they checked to see what the object was, nothing of that significant size that would cause a boat accident could be found. People have stated that huge waves would come out of nowhere. It would overturn a boat and the water would go back to its normal state. Over the years, divers have reported seeing terrifying sightings under the murky reservoir. Some sightings have been reported to being a humongous catfish the size of a Volkswagen. Divers have uploaded several YouTube videos of old sunken houses and many years of debris. In April of 1958, Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts were traveling to the Three Gables in Dawsonville, Georgia, which was a local roadhouse. The two women were traveling across the Lanier Bridge in Susie's 1954 Ford sedan when Susie lost control of the car and crashed off of the bridge. Of course, the two women's families filed a missing persons report. Several divers searched the lake, but they could not find the vehicle or any signs of the women. The evidence that they did find was skid marks that clearly told them that the women or someone lost control of their vehicle. In 1959, a fisherman found human remains that floated to the surface of the lake. They could not identify the person, and guess what? The body was missing both hands and several toes. Most people assumed that it had to be one of the missing girls, Susie or Delia, but it would take 3 decades for the woman to be identified. 31 years later, in November of 1990, the lake was being prepared for the foundation for pillars of a new bridge. They unexpectedly found a piece of a rusted car with human remains found inside. When going through the belongings, they discovered a purse, rings, and a watch. Susie Roberts was able to be identified, so that meant the young woman that was found just decades earlier that could not be identified was Delia Mae Parker. Susie was trapped in her car under 90 feet of water. The car was stopped by a steep slope, a tree trunk, mud, has been seen walking up and down the Lanier Bridge, and she is missing her hands. Another report of a figure is of a mysterious raft floating on the lake at night with a shadowy figure holding a pole with a lantern. I personally have heard that once the figure is spotted, it jumps back into the lake and the raft disappears. Two fishermen's story is that they seen the shadowy figure at around 1 a.m. on a cold autumn night. The two fishermen watched as the figure was having trouble with moving the boat. That is why he had a pole that helped push him along. The figure shouted and jumped into the lake. The two fishermen were afraid that the figure was coming towards them, so they pulled up their lines and prepared to leave. But when they flashed their flashlights in the area where the figure jumped, there was no sign of the figure or the raft. The lake was undisturbed, as if no one or nothing just jumped into the lake. This sighting could have been the ghost of the past, when men would travel the shallow rivers and creeks. There are many tragic drowning stories. Many of the victims were considered to be strong swimmers. The survivors of their near drowning incident said that it feels as if someone is pulling them or dragging them underneath by invisible hands. I am going to name the drowning incidents that I was able to find on the internet, so let's get started. In July of 2012, American singer Usher's stepson, Kyle Glover, who was 11 years old at the time, went on a jet ski at Lake Lanier. The driver, Jeffrey Hubbard, who was a friend of Kyle's biological father, collided with an inner tube. He was knocked unconscious and immediately rushed to the hospital, where he was placed on life support. He never regained consciousness and died 6 days later from blood force trauma. The driver of the jet ski, Jeffrey, was found guilty on several charges, one that included homicide. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The body of a 19-year-old male was pulled from Lake Lanier in May of 2021. He was attempting to swim to the cove, but got tired and unfortunately drowned. 24-year-old Dorian Benson was reported missing on April 18th after a boating accident with 3 of his friends. They all either jumped or fell off of a rented boat. 2 of them were able to make it back on the boat. Unfortunately, Dorian was pushed in the water. Due to the wind, he went underwater and never came up. 2 months later, his body was recovered in 117 feet of water, thanks to the help of a non-profit company that assists with locating and recovering drowning victims that are hard to find across the country. They used a sector scan sonar. His body was recovered with a remote operated vehicle. On June 30th, 2019, 28-year-old Corey Brown died after jumping in Lake Lanier to save a friend in need. He jumped in and never resurfaced. He died a hero. In May of 2019, 2 friends went missing after a boat crash. The body of Branislav was recovered, but his friend, 38-year-old Nicholas, has not yet been found. There are so many TikToks, YouTube videos, and tweets that have been share this video with someone who may be interested in this type of content and who's interested in ASMR. Let me know your thoughts down